The old merchant ship floated silently through the darkness of space. Inside its worn but well-maintained hull, Ray checked the engine readings for the third time in the last hour. Something wasn't right. The usual soft hum of the power core had changed to an irregular pattern that made his fins twitch with worry. "Mira," he called to his wife, his voice causing ripples in the water that filled their ship's living spaces. "Could you come look at this?" Mira swam over from where she had been helping their children with their studies. Like all blue dwellers, her skin had a soft blue glow that lit up the water around her. She looked at the readings, and her gills fluttered anxiously. "That's not good," she said, her webbed hands moving quickly over the control panel. "The power core is losing stability. We need to shut it down before." A loud bang shook the entire ship. The lights flickered, and several warning signs lit up across the control board. In the back of the ship, their children Lee and Kai started crying. "Go to them," Ray said quickly. "I'll try to fix this." Mira nodded and swam back to their children. The family had made this trading route many times before, carrying rare deep-sea plants from their home world to other water-breathing species across the galaxy. But they had never had trouble like this. Ray worked frantically at the controls, but nothing he did seemed to help. The engine's power was dropping faster and faster. He knew what that meant. Soon they would lose life support. Without power to maintain the water temperature and oxygen levels, they would slowly freeze or suffocate in the cold emptiness of space. "Mom, I'm scared," Lee said, hugging his little brother Kai close as Mira tried to calm them both. "It's okay, little ones," she said softly, though her own heart was racing. "Your father will fix this. He always fixes everything." But Ray couldn't fix it this time. After an hour of trying everything he knew, he had to accept the truth. The power core was dead, and they were stranded in one of the most dangerous parts of space. "Mira," he called out, his voice heavy. "We need to send a distress signal." Mira's face showed her fear. Everyone knew about this sector of space. Pirates often waited here, pretending to help stranded ships only to rob them or worse. But they had no choice. Without help, they would die. Ray swam to the emergency beacon and activated it. The small device sent out waves of energy in all directions, carrying their plea for help into the endless dark of space. The message was simple: family vessel stranded. 4 souls aboard. Life support failing. Please help. The next few hours were the longest of their lives. Ray and Mira tried to stay calm for their children, but they could all feel the water getting colder. Their ship's walls were designed to keep the warmth in, but without power, the freezing cold of space was slowly creeping in. They gathered in the main living area, sharing body heat and telling stories to keep the children's minds off their situation. Lee, who was 8 years old, tried to be brave for his 4-year-old brother Kai. But everyone's gills were working harder now, trying to pull oxygen from the increasingly stale water. Through the ship's windows, they could see other vessels passing in the distance. Their hearts would lift each time they spotted one, only to sink again as ship after ship ignored their distress calls. Some were too far to see them, while others clearly received their signal but chose to keep going. "Why won't anyone help us?" Lee asked, his voice small and confused. "The galaxy is a big place," Mira said gently, holding her sons close. "Sometimes people are too busy with their own problems to help others." Ray checked their life support readings again. The numbers were getting worse. At their current rate, they had less than 6 hours of breathable water left. He looked at his family, his beautiful wife, and their 2 young sons, and felt a deep fear in his heart. He had always promised to keep them safe, but now he didn't know if he could. As the hours passed, hope started to fade like the warmth from their water. But then, just when things seemed darkest, an unexpected message crackled through their communication system. The voice that came through was unlike any they had heard before, speaking in a language their translator took a moment to process. "This is Captain Tom of the human vessel Lucky Star. We receive your distress signal. Hold on tight, folks. Help is on the way. The message from the human ship brought a moment of hope to the struggling Blue Dweller family. But that hope was quickly interrupted by another voice cutting through their communication system. Human vessel Lucky Star, came a cold, crystalline voice. This is Trade Master Gold of the Crystal Merchant Guild. We strongly advise against attempting rescue of this vessel. Ray and Mira looked at each other with worry. The Crystal Merchants were one of the most powerful trading groups in the galaxy. Their ships were easy to spot through the windows, massive, gleaming vessels that sparkled like diamonds in the starlight. The Blue Dwellers are simple traders, the Crystal Merchant continued. Their goods are of little value. A rescue attempt would be a waste of resources. The water in the ship grew colder as Ray watched 3 Crystal Merchant ships pass by. Their powerful engines glowed bright enough to light up the darkness around them, but they didn't stop. They didn't even slow down. "Daddy," little Kai asked, his teeth chattering, "why are they so mean?" Ray hugged his youngest son closer. "They're not mean, little one. They just think differently than us." More ships appeared in the distance. The family's hopes rose again when they saw the bright orange vessels of the Sundancers approaching. The Sundancers were known as great warriors who claimed to protect the weak. "Stranded vessel," a fiery voice crackled through their comm system. "This is Commander Bright of the Sundancer fleet. We detect your distress signal, but we cannot verify your identity. This sector is known for pirate activity. We cannot risk our ships for potential threats." Lee, the older son, pressed his face against the cold window and watched the Sundancer ships change course, their flames burning bright as they moved away. "But we're not pirates," he said sadly. "We're just a family." The next few hours brought more disappointment. The Star Nomads, known for their advanced technology and wisdom, passed by in their sleek silver ships. Their message was perhaps the most painful of all. "We have calculated the probability of your survival," their emotionless voice stated. "The risk-to-reward ratio of a rescue attempt is unfavorable. It would be inefficient to attempt to save 4 lives at the risk of damaging our valuable equipment. We recommend you accept your fate with dignity." Mira tried to keep her voice steady as she spoke to her children. "Close your eyes, little ones. Try to rest. Help will come." But her own voice shook with doubt. The family huddled together in their living space, watching their air recyclers struggle to keep the water breathable. The temperature had dropped so much that they could see their breath making tiny bubbles in the water. Little Kai had fallen into an uneasy sleep, but Lee remained awake, his eyes wide with fear. "Mom," Lee whispered, "I learned in school that the galaxy is full of advanced species, that we've all grown beyond the primitive times. But if we're so advanced, why won't anyone help us?" Mira didn't have an answer. She just held her son closer, sharing what little warmth she had left. Ray checked their systems again. The news wasn't good. Their backup power was almost gone. The water was getting dangerously low on oxygen. He estimated they had less than 2 hours left before. He couldn't finish the thought. Through their windows, they could see the various alien ships continuing their journeys. The Crystal Merchant ships sparkled with wealth and power. The Sundancer's vessels burned with strength and glory. The Star Nomads' crafts hummed with advanced technology. All of them had the power to save the dying family. None of them chose to do so. The human vessel that had promised help was nowhere to be seen. Maybe they too had changed their minds after hearing the warnings from the other species. After all, humans were considered one of the youngest and most primitive species in the galaxy. Their ships were small, their technology simple. What could they do that these advanced species couldn't? As Ray held his family close in the freezing water, their hopes fading with each passing minute, a new light suddenly appeared through their window. It wasn't the sparkle of Crystal Merchant ships, or the flame of Sundancer vessels, or the silver glow of Star Nomad craft. It was a small, battered cargo ship, its hull marked with dents and repairs. On its side, in simple letters, was written, "Lucky Star." The humans had kept their promise. They had come. The Lucky Star looked nothing like the other ships that had passed by, where the crystal merchant ships sparkled with precious metals, and the Star Nomad's vessels gleamed with perfect engineering. The human ship was rough and worn. Its hull showed patches of repairs, and its paint was faded in places. But to the dying Blue Dweller family, it was the most beautiful sight they had ever seen. "This is Captain Tom again." The human's voice came through clearer now. "We can see you're in pretty bad shape. Hang tight, we're coming alongside." Before the humans could get closer, another message cut through their comm system. "Human vessel." The crystal merchant's voice rang out again. "Your ship is not equipped for aquatic life support. You have no proper docking mechanisms for their vessel type. Your attempted rescue will fail and likely result in your own deaths. Do not be foolish." There was a pause. Then Captain Tom's voice returned, but this time it wasn't directed at the Blue Dwellers. "Thanks for the advice," he said, and Ray could hear something like a smile in the human's voice. "But we're going to try anyway." The Lucky Star moved closer, and through the windows, the family could see it clearly now. It was smaller than any of the other ships that had passed, maybe a quarter of the size of a crystal merchant vessel. As it drew near, they could make out 4 humans moving around inside through its windows. "Hello there, Water Family," a new human voice called out. This one was female. "I'm Mary, the ship's engineer. We're going to need a few minutes to figure out how to get you folks over here safely. How's your air holding up?" Ray checked the readings. "Our water oxygen levels are critical," he reported. "Less than an hour of breathable water remaining." "Right then," Mary said firmly. "Tom, we're going to have to do this the crazy way." "Agreed," the captain replied. "Jack, Pete, suit up. Mary, start emptying cargo hold 2. We're going to need all the space we can get." The family watched in amazement as the humans burst into action. Unlike the methodical star nomads or the formal crystal merchants, the humans moved with what seemed like organized chaos. They could see them running through their ship, carrying equipment, and talking rapidly to each other. "What are they doing?" Lee asked, pressing his face against the cold window. "I don't know," Mira answered honestly. She had never seen anything like it. Through the comm system, they could hear snippets of human conversation. "If we reroute the coolant system, those tanks should hold enough water. The seals might not be perfect, but we'll just have to work fast." The crystal merchant ship, still watching from a distance, sent another message. "Humans, your primitive technology cannot possibly." "With all due respect," Captain Tom interrupted, "we're a bit busy here. Mary, how's that cargo hold coming along?" "Almost ready, Cap." "Pete, start pumping in the water now. Jack, get that docking tube rigged up. We've got one shot at this." The family watched in disbelief as the small human ship transformed before their eyes. What had been a simple cargo vessel was turning into something entirely new. The humans were doing things with their equipment that made no sense to Ray's experienced spacefaring eyes. They were connecting things that shouldn't connect, using tools in ways they weren't designed for. "Mom," Lee whispered, "are they going to save us?" Before Mira could answer, Captain Tom's voice came through again. "All right, Water Family. What we're about to do isn't exactly in any manual. It's going to look pretty strange, and honestly, I'm not entirely sure it's going to work, but we're going to give it our best shot." Through their failing windows, the family could see one of the humans. They would later learn it was Jack, floating toward their ship in a spacesuit. He was carrying what looked like a large tube made of patches of different materials, hastily sealed together. "Now," Captain Tom continued, his voice steady and reassuring, "I know you've probably been taught that humans are primitive and reckless. And well, maybe we are. But sometimes being primitive and reckless is exactly what you need." As the human in the spacesuit reached their ship, Ray looked at his family, his wife, and 2 sons, all shivering in the rapidly failing water, and realized something important. These humans might not have the most advanced technology or the most elegant solutions, But they had something that none of the other species had shown. They had the will to try. As Jack floated closer to their ship with the makeshift tube, Ray noticed something that made his heart sink. A field of asteroids was drifting toward them, drawn by the gravity of a nearby gas giant. The crystal merchants and star nomads had known this was coming. That's why they had left so quickly. "Captain Tom," Ray called out urgently, "there are asteroids approaching." "Yeah, we see them," Tom replied calmly. "Mary, how long until that cargo hold is ready?" "5 more minutes, Cap. The water's still filling." "We don't have 5 minutes," Pete's voice cut in. "Those rocks are moving faster than they look." The family watched through their window as chunks of space rock, some as small as their fists and others bigger than their ship, started floating past. The magnetic fields from the gas giant were making them move in unpredictable patterns. "This is impossible," the Star Nomad ship announced from its safe distance. "The magnetic interference will destroy any rescue attempt. Your primitive sensors cannot navigate this debris field." Jack, the human in the spacesuit, had to dodge suddenly as an asteroid tumbled past him. The tube he was carrying swung wildly, but he managed to keep hold of it. "Well," Captain Tom said, and they could hear him grin through the comm system. "Good thing we humans don't know what's impossible. Mary, remember that mining laser we weren't supposed to use anymore? The one that keeps overheating." "Already on it, Cap." The family watched in amazement as the Lucky Star's old mining laser powered up. It wasn't sleek or advanced like Star Nomad weapons. It sputtered and sparked. But when it fired, it was effective. The beam hit the nearest asteroid, breaking it into smaller pieces that floated harmlessly past. "Jack," Tom called out, "get back here." "Pete, your turn with the laser." "Mary, keep that cargo hold filling. We're going to clear a path." What happened next was like nothing the Blue Dweller family had ever seen. The small human ship moved with surprising agility, its mining laser firing again and again. They weren't trying to destroy all the asteroids. There were too many for that. Instead, they were creating a safe corridor, a pathway between their ships. "Mom, look." Lee pointed excitedly. "They're making a tunnel through the rocks." He was right. The humans were using the mining laser to break up only the asteroids that were directly between the ships. The magnetic fields were actually helping now, pushing the broken pieces to the sides, creating a temporary clear path. "The magnetic interference is too strong." The Star Nomads warned again, "Your instruments will fail." "Good thing we've got windows," Tom replied cheerfully. "Sometimes the old ways work best." "Pete, watch that big one on your left." The mining laser fired again, breaking apart a massive asteroid that had been drifting toward them. But the shot made the laser's power fluctuate wildly. "Cap, the laser's about to overheat," Mary warned. "Just a few more shots," Tom said. "Jack, get ready with that tube again. The path won't stay clear for long." The humans worked together like a well-practiced team. Pete kept firing the failing laser, creating their safety corridor. Mary monitored the cargo hold that was now almost full of water. Jack prepared to make another attempt with the transfer tube, and Captain Tom coordinated everything, keeping everyone calm despite the chaos around them. Ray held his family close as they watched. The water in their ship was barely breathable now. Little Kai had started coughing, and even Mira's gills were struggling to get enough oxygen. They needed to get out soon, or they wouldn't survive. "All right, the path is clear," Tom announced. "Jack, go now. Pete, keep any new asteroids off him." They watched Jack push off from the Lucky Star again, moving much faster this time. The tube trailed behind him like a silver snake. Asteroids tumbled past on all sides, but the path the humans had created held steady. As Jack reached their ship, Ray looked at his family and then at the battered human vessel nearby. The humans had done what the most advanced species in the galaxy had called impossible. They had found a way through a deadly asteroid field using nothing but an old mining laser and pure determination. Now came the hard part, getting the family from one ship to the other before they ran out of air. And the asteroids were already starting to fill the path again. Jack reached the Blue Dwellers' ship just as their life support system gave out its final warning beep. The water inside was now dangerously low on oxygen, and the family's movements had become slow and sluggish. "I'm at their airlock," Jack reported, his breath fogging his helmet as he worked. "This tube's going to have to connect to something that was never meant to connect to it." Inside the Lucky Star, Mary's voice was tense. "The cargo hold is full of water, but we've got another problem. The temperature's not right for their species. They'll go into shock if we don't warm it up fast." "Use the engine heat," Tom ordered. "Route it through the hold's walls." "That's not what the engine cooling system is for, Cap." "Today it is." The family could hear the humans working frantically through the comm system. Unlike the precise, calculated methods of the star nomads, the humans seemed to work on instinct and creativity. They were breaking every safety protocol in the galaxy, but they were doing it to save lives. "Tubes attached," Jack called out. "But the seal isn't perfect. We're going to lose some water during transfer." "Can't be helped," Tom replied. "Water family, are you ready? This is going to be scary, but we need you to trust us." Ray looked at his children. Kai was barely conscious now, and Lee's gills were barely moving. Even Mira's blue glow had dimmed dangerously. They had no choice. "We trust you," Ray said. "Good," Tom responded. "Here's what's going to happen. When we open both ends of the tube, the water pressure will create a current. It's going to pull you through fast, like a water slide. Don't fight it. Jack will be right there with you the whole way." Young Lee's eyes went wide. A water slide. In space. Despite the danger, Captain Tom chuckled. "First time for everything, kid. Mary, how's that water temperature?" "Used every trick I know. It's not perfect, but it'll keep them alive." "That's all we need." "Jack, on my mark, open the tube." The family huddled together at their airlock. Through the thick, clear walls of the tube, they could see Jack giving them a thumbs up. The gesture meant nothing in Blue Dweller culture, but somehow its friendliness was clear. 3, 2, 1, now. The tube's ends opened, and water rushed through it like a river in space. The family held tight to each other as the current pulled them in. For a terrifying moment, they were shooting through the clear tube, space all around them. Nothing but Jack's improvised seals keeping them alive. "First section good," Jack reported, floating alongside the tube in his spacesuit. "They're halfway there." But then something went wrong. One of the tube's patches started to tear. Water began to spray into space, instantly turning to ice crystals. "Tube's failing," Jack shouted. "We need to speed this up. Mary, give them more pull from our side." Tom ordered. "But the pressure might tear the tube completely." "No choice. Do it." The family felt the current suddenly get stronger. They were rushed forward even faster now, water spraying out around them in a glittering cloud of ice. Little Kai started to cry, but the sound was lost in the rush of water. "Almost there," Jack called out. "Just a few more seconds." The tube was falling apart now. More seams were splitting. The makeshift water slide was turning into a desperate race against time. The family could see the cargo hold entrance ahead, its warm water glowing invitingly. With a final surge, they shot through the tube's end and into the cargo hold. They tumbled through the water as Jack quickly sealed the hold behind them. The tube, having served its purpose, broke apart completely, scattering into space like a shower of silver ribbons. "They're in," Jack shouted triumphantly. "Everyone's safe." The family floated in the cargo hold's water, their gills finally able to pull in oxygen again. It wasn't perfect. The water was a bit too warm, and it tasted strange. But they were alive. Through the hold's window, they could see the human crew celebrating. They had done the impossible. Using nothing but spare parts, creativity, and sheer determination, they had saved a family that the most advanced species in the galaxy had abandoned. Little Kai, already recovering in the oxygen-rich water, looked up at his father. "Daddy," he asked, "can we go on the space water slide again?" The humans' laughter, hearing this through the comm system, filled both ships with joy. But their celebration was about to be cut short, because the asteroid field was closing in, and they still had to get everyone out alive. The celebration aboard the Lucky Star was cut short when a massive asteroid slammed into the abandoned Blue Dweller ship, breaking it apart. The impact sent shock waves through space, rocking the human vessel violently. "Everyone hold on," Captain Tom shouted as he fought with the controls. "Mary, how's our engine power?" "Not good, Cap. Using it to heat the cargo hold water drained more power than I thought." The family huddled together in the cargo hold's warm water, watching through the window as their old ship broke into pieces. Everything they owned, their cargo, their memories, their home, scattered into space. "At least we're all safe," Mira said, trying to comfort her children. But then she noticed something that made her heart stop. "Where's Lee?" The family looked around frantically. In the chaos of the transfer and the asteroid impact, their older son had gotten separated from them. Ray spotted him first. Lee had been thrown into a different section of the cargo hold, trapped behind some floating debris. "Help!" Lee called out, his voice muffled by the water and walls. "I can't get free." Ray tried to swim to his son, but the debris was too tightly packed. The cargo hold had never been meant to hold water, and the asteroid impact had knocked loose equipment that now blocked the way. "Humans," Ray called out desperately. "My son is trapped." The response was immediate. "Jack, get your suit back on," Tom ordered. "Pete, help Mary keep us steady. I'm going in there myself." "Cap, there's more asteroids coming," Pete warned. "We need to move the ship now." "Then this is going to be tricky," Tom replied. Through the window, the family watched as both Tom and Jack quickly put on their spacesuits. "Mary, you have the bridge. Keep us alive until we get back." "You're going to risk your lives?" Mira asked, amazed. "For our son." "Man." Tom's voice came through their comm system. "On Earth, we have a saying, no one gets left behind. Especially not kids." The two humans entered the cargo hold through an airlock. In their bulky spacesuits, they looked clumsy swimming through the water. But they moved with determination, pushing through the floating debris toward Lee. More asteroids hit the ship, making everything shake. Equipment crashed around in the hold, making the rescue even more dangerous. But the humans didn't stop. They kept pushing forward, working together to move the heavy debris. "The magnetic field is getting stronger," Mary's voice warned. "We need to move out of here in less than 5 minutes, or we'll be pulled into the gas giant." Jack reached Lee first. The young Blue Dweller was scared but trying to be brave. "Hold still, buddy," Jack said gently. "We're going to get you out of here." Tom joined him, and together they started clearing the debris. Their spacesuits weren't designed for underwater work, and their movements were slow and awkward. But they refused to give up. "Almost. Got it," Tom grunted as they pushed away the last piece of equipment. But just then, another asteroid hit the ship. The impact sent a piece of metal flying straight at Lee. Without hesitation, Jack threw himself in front of the boy. The metal hit his suit hard, cracking his helmet's faceplate. Water started seeping in immediately. "Jack," Tom shouted. "I'm okay," Jack said quickly, though everyone could hear the water splashing inside his helmet. "Get the kid to his family. I can hold my breath." Tom quickly grabbed Lee and swam him back to his parents. The family hugged their son tightly, crying with relief. But Ray quickly turned back to the humans. "Your friend is hurt. Because of us. Part of the job," Jack said, his voice gurgling now as water filled his helmet. He tried to swim to the airlock, but his suit was too heavy with water. "Not on my watch," Tom said. He grabbed Jack and started pulling him toward the airlock. "Mary, get ready to drain this section as soon as we're through. Pete, plot us a course out of here." The crazier the better. The family watched as Tom dragged Jack to safety, just as more asteroids started pummeling the ship. Through it all, the humans never stopped working together, never stopped helping each other, just like they had helped a family of strangers. As the Lucky Star's engines roared to life, preparing for their escape, Lee looked at his parents with wonder in his eyes. "The humans got hurt helping us," he said, "but they didn't even think twice about it. Why?" Ray looked at his son, then at the humans who had risked everything to save them. "Because," he said, "that's what makes them human." The Lucky Star burst free from the asteroid field, its engines glowing bright against the darkness of space. Inside, Mary had managed to drain the water from the airlock just in time to save Jack, though he was still coughing up water. "That was some fancy flying, Pete," Captain Tom said, helping Jack remove his damaged helmet. "And Jack, next time try not to use your head to stop flying debris." "Hey," Jack grinned weakly, "my head's the hardest part of me." In the cargo hold, the Blue Dweller family watched the humans through the window. They could see them laughing and patting each other on the back, even though they had just nearly died. It was so different from how other species behaved. "How's everyone doing in there?" Tom's voice came through the comm. "Water temperature holding steady." "Yes," Ray answered. We don't know how to thank you." "No thanks needed," Tom replied. "Though we wouldn't say no to sharing a meal. Never had dinner with Water Brothers before." That's how, a few hours later, the strangest dinner party in space took place. The humans sat around a table next to the cargo hold window, eating their food, while the family floated on the other side in their warm water, eating special algae Mary had found in the ship's greenhouse. "The Star Nomads were right about one thing," Mary said, showing the family some readings on a tablet. "By all scientific calculations, that rescue should have been impossible. Our equipment wasn't compatible, our technology wasn't advanced enough, and the risks were too high." "But you did it anyway," Lee said, pressing his hand against the window. "Why?" "Because," Pete answered, "sometimes being technically right isn't the same as being right. You know." The family didn't know exactly, but they were beginning to understand. Over the next 2 days, as the Lucky Star carried them to the nearest space station, they learned more about humans than most aliens learned in years. They learned that humans told jokes when they were scared to help each other feel brave. They learned that humans named their plants. The greenhouse had a cactus called Spike that Mary talked to every day. They learned that humans would work until they dropped to help others, then brush it off like it was nothing special. At the space station, news of their rescue spread quickly. The crystal merchants were shocked that their valuable trade goods had been lost. The Star Nomads couldn't understand why the humans had taken such an irrational risk. The Sundancers questioned the wisdom of trusting strangers. But more importantly, other aliens started asking questions about humans. A week later, Ray stood before the Galactic Trade Council. His family sat in a special water-filled chamber nearby as he told their story. He told them about how everyone had abandoned them, how the humans had broken every rule to save them, how Jack had risked his life to save Lee. "The advanced species of our galaxy pride themselves on their progress," Ray said. "Their technology, their calculations, their perfect logic. But they forgot something important, something the humans showed us." He looked at Captain Tom and his crew, who stood at the back of the chamber, their clothes still worn and their ship still dented. They forgot that true progress isn't just about having the best technology or the most logical solutions. It's about being willing to help others, even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous, even when everyone else says it's impossible. The council chambers buzzed with conversation. Many species who had looked down on humans started to see them differently. Not as primitive creatures who didn't understand the proper way of doing things, but as beings who understood something more important, the value of helping others. As for the family, they did something unexpected. Instead of returning to their normal trade routes, they asked to stay with the humans. Ray and Mira became cultural advisors. helping humans and water-breathing species understand each other better. Lee and Kai grew up learning both cultures, bridging the gap between species. And the lucky star? Well, Captain Tom and his crew had to add a permanent water tank to their ship because they kept getting calls from water-breathing species asking for help. It seemed that word had spread across the galaxy. If you're in trouble and everyone else has given up on you, call the humans. They might not have the fanciest ships or the most advanced technology. Their solutions might not be the most elegant, but they'll never stop trying to help. Because that's what humans do.